Hey guys, what is up? Lord Nick here, joined by my friend Sarcasm. We bring you another episode of the Dangerous Game Podcast. This is episode number 30. Um, I have titled this podcast, We Try to Add Structure to the Podcast. Um, because going forward, we are going to try to structure the podcast in a way of actually making consistent content. You know, that thing that I keep promising on my channel and keep failing to do. But this time I have somebody else tied to it, so there's a chance that between the two of us, it will actually work out the way we want it to. Um, so starting off, how you been, Sark?
I've been good, dude. I've actually been enjoying these wings these last 5 minutes while I was waiting for you, and they're pretty good, dude.
Noise.
Yeah, we were we were actually talking about this earlier before we started, and I kind of got late on Nick because I went to pick up some food. But dude, something crazy actually happened while I went to pick up the food. I was at a stoplight and I was I thought that this lady was fucking screaming at me, dude, because I was looking at my phone because I was watching a video or listening to a video rather.
Mm-hmm.
I've been binging like fucking. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but there's like these there's this YouTube channel called like Real World Police or something, and it just documents like the cop footage of like certain crimes that people commit. And one of the really common ones that I like watching is where they arrest people who impersonate cops. And so I was listening to that, and suddenly I just hear this lady like fucking screaming, and I was so fucking confused. It was so loud. I thought it was the car next to me because it sounded like so loud and so close. And I look over, and they're just like as fucking confused as I am. It's like a chick and her like friend in the car, and they just look over at me and they're like, "Bro, what the fuck is going on?" And then they look behind them because I guess they could actually tell where I was coming from. And the lady behind me is just screaming at the car next to her, like fucking yelling. I think she was yelling at the person to like get off of their phone or something and fucking roll down their window. I've never seen actual road rage before, but that was like actual road rage.
That's that's
And
amazing.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared because she was behind me. I was like,
Please don't hit the gas.
hopefully,
Don't
like,
hit the gas.
yeah, yeah. But luckily, I was on one of those streets where you can go straight or turn in the same lane, and I went straight and she turned. So I was like, thank God, dude, because she was so fucking irate, and she like spat off too. She wasn't just like casually
Jesus.
driving. But anyway,
I don't think I've ever. I can't say I haven't ever ran into somebody with road rage. One time I was on the highway. It was like 2 in the morning. And you'd think I'd be coming back from drinking. No, I was coming back from playing Magic the Gathering late at night. Um,
from drinking, Jesus, no. I wouldn't think
Dude,
that you drink and drive, Nick.
good thing you don't think I do that. Anyhow, um, so I was coming back from a Magic event at 2 in the morning, and I was driving like 75, 80-ish on the highway. Um, and a couple of my and one of my buddies calls me. He's like, "Hey Nick, are you in a red car?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, so I know you passed me a while going really fast. Uh, be careful. There's a guy coming up on the left lane. He's gonna pass you soon." I was like, "What do you mean?" And as he's saying this, this guy comes up behind me because I'm in the left lane. So I've left my friend in the dust at this point. And I just look in my rearview mirror, and there's this jacked up truck just barreling down the highway behind me. Mind you, I'm going like 75 and a 60, and he is approaching me, and I'm thinking, if I don't move, he's going to crash into me in about 2 seconds. So I try to get over, and as I'm getting over, he changes lanes and then jerks back and pulls up past me, just blaring his horn the entire time. He had to have been going probably close to like 100, 105, just barreling past me. And all I know is that he got his comeuppance from it. Like, I knew he was angry because the horn didn't stop even after he passed me. But I knew he got his
Mhm.
comeuppance of it because as I got to my exit about 5 miles down the frickin' highway, I see a cop and that truck pulled over. I'm just like laughing the entire time. But I was legitimately like, why is he telling me there's a guy speeding? We all speed at night. And then I just see that in my background and I was like, oh shit. But yeah, well, So speaking of anger, actually, this is a great like segue topic. Actually, um, one of the things I wanted to talk about League of Legends related this week is tilting. I know it's something that we've kind of talked every now and then. I talk about it because I tilt a lot. So, I try to, talk to people and tell them how I
Alright.
am not a tilter, but I am
So,
definitely a tilter.
can you tilt Nick? I
Oh,
never believed it.
oh,
I've never seen that, dude.
oh really? Well, I decided this last week for some reason that I wanted to put a stage chart together for tilting. And kind of categorize it.
Damage absorption potential boosted.
Maybe I should turn that off while I'm streaming. I didn't even think about that. I know you didn't hear that,
Turn
sorry.
that off.
My alert box, because I just got hit hard by the alert sounds, uh,
Uh,
and that threw me off massively. I appreciate the host there, buddy. But yeah, now people are just gonna hear a random ass Skarner sound as in the middle of the podcast. So 5 stages of tilt is what I came up with, kind of based off similar to the 5 stages of grief. There's a small difference to it in the factor that I didn't add an acceptance aspect of it. But starting off, stage one is going to be the Tourette's patient. Uh, and the Tourette's patient is that individual who is playing the game and then somebody pisses them off, and out of nowhere this person just lets out one quick pissed off statement, but for the rest of the game that person that left out that pissed off statement is just quietly pissed at the person that's against them. They're kind of shaky about it, not actually shaky, but they're getting that kind of like deep down kind of mad at that person that if that person fucks up again, they're going to let them know in chat. But any time that person fucks up, they let them know in chat. And the reason I call it Tourette's patient is because they're not consistently just profanity. It's just whenever that person specifically does something is when they pop off. So it's not consistent. It's just in certain situations, which Tourette's is not consistent. It just kind of it's not a perfect analogy. I get it, but it's still this is that. It was also I also called it a flash in the pan was the stage one, because a flash in the pan is just a quick burn that happens real fast and kind of burns out real quick. So it was one of those. I felt like this is probably the basic stage of tilt. I felt like this is probably stage one because this is the most common thing you will see when somebody's tilting, myself included. If I tilt, this is my most common form of tilting. It's like I get so mad really, really fast, and then it peters out real fast, and then it will come back a little bit later, sometimes from that same person, sometimes a couple games later because somebody does something similar to that first person. And then came stage two. Stage two is the denial victim. This is the person that has probably done a bit of stage one, but continues to play repeated games. Like they've lost 3 in a row and they're like, I'm still going. I'm not tilted. Don't worry, guys. Those last couple of games did not upset me. I'm not upset at all. And then they keep playing worse and worse and worse. And that Tourette's victim, that Tourette's patient slowly becomes the stage 3. But in the meantime, they're in that kind of denial stage. You're focused on, I'm going to win one of these games. And it's not my fault that we're losing. Obviously, it's not me. It's just it's just a couple bad games. It's whatever. It's a couple bad games, and they're constantly in this stage of not accepting the fact that they might be a little tilted from the fact, because maybe it started off with a couple bad games, but they just keep going. I have been victim to this as I went on a 13 game losing streak in one day. So that was fun, but definitely a stage that is hard to talk yourself out of, right? I think this is the hardest to accept stage because I mean you're in denial. You're completely believing you are not tilted, but you definitely are.
I feel like these descriptions aren't like phases through a person, but different types of tilt that each person experiences.
Yeah.
Because I don't identify with the first one at all, but I definitely do this one. Where I'm like, this actually happened today too when I was playing, even though I don't play ranked much. where I did fine in my first like 3 games, and I lost them all, dude. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just play till I get that like 1 win, and then I'll be good. And there's no way that like I'm playing bad, even though like I wasn't playing bad, but I could tell that like I wasn't playing as well each game because I was getting more irritated. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was still doing well in the games, but my performance from like the first game to like the third game, I could tell was like I was getting more irritated, which made me play more poorly.
Yeah, so
But
I I
yeah,
I initially came up with the idea for all of these originally not as stages, but as just like individual forms. Maybe we could talk about different forms of it. And then I came up with the idea of the stages because I remembered, I don't remember why I remembered it, but just randomly remembered in the stages of grief that you can experience some, if not all, and sometimes you experience them out of order of what they are currently listed as. This is not the constant order that everything goes through. And, sometimes you don't experience any of them when you're grieving. And I think in tilting, sometimes you do experience multiples of these, but sometimes you don't experience any of them. And so I felt like while they're different forms, they do definitely end up, it's very easy to blend them all together because I think they all root from the same issue, right? Like you're tilted because you're not winning. Most of the time, you tilt in League of Legends because you're not winning. Um,
I have something to show you.
okay,
Um,
what you got?
I actually got really tilted during one of my games, and then I looked at the OPGG, and it tilted me even more because of what it showed.
Oh no.
And I got so mad at OPGG for this.
Did it call you number 10 and call? Is that the one where you sent me where the Ari was number 1 and
No, no, this is today. This is today. I haven't
oh,
shown
this is
you.
today. Okay, let's see this.
Look at my ace. Look at this guy just running it down, going 1 and 9. You know, he did the most damage, but it's because he died so much while he was trying to fight them that none of us could fight because they just ran us down like dogs. And then
uh,
it gives him the fucking number 1. When he goes, imagine going 1 and 9 and a website thinking that you're the best player on your team.
eh,
Like
damage and
the,
wards, my man.
the fact that that's even he put down one more ward than me and 2 pink wards. Like if going 1 and 9 is less important than putting down 3 more wards than someone else, like
I don't understand
that,
OP.GG's score system. I
man,
don't understand Blitz's score system either. They all just end up pissing me off in the end. Because like I'll consistently get that ace and MVP on OP.GG, but then I'm listed as the dead last person over on frickin' Blitz because I'm not doing the most damage on my team when I'm playing a tank. And it's like, but I'm doing the tank's job to a very high degree, and then it's like, but you didn't put out damage. It's like, bitch, I'm a full-on tank. Like I'm doing my job. Fuck you, you stupid site. Like, yeah, I get tilted from the sites now more than I get from my games. Like I get tilted from my games, but I get tilted from the damn sites more than the games. Um, which actually I think brings on the number 3 one for me. Stage 3 is the one I think it's when I realize I'm tilted is when this one happens, and I called it the alcoholic father. And the reason I called it the alcoholic father is because, like an alcoholic father, you start cussing and swearing and bitching and moaning and complaining about someone else. Deep down, you have some issues you need to resolve, but there is somebody else you were projecting on, and there's somebody else who is doing just bad enough in your view that you can blame them, or somebody says something that, maybe you didn't fuck up that badly, but they
you,
think you fucked up horribly. And
you
then
had a weird choice for the
naming,
analogy or metaphor here. Yeah, I, I think
ah,
a better one would be maybe the deflector or something. I don't know.
deflector, alcoholic father, it's a fine one.
When I think of an alcoholic father, I don't think of someone who deflects their issues. I think of someone who like beats their wife or kids. So I don't know if that's
I don't know. Well, that is, I guess, the stereotypical one. I guess growing up with an alcoholic father who is verbally abusive, this is why this one came up for me, in terms of ideas of it. But it's yeah. I guess deflector is another good name for it. The deflector is the person here because you are legitimately projecting and deflecting your own insecurities onto other people, or somebody says something about you and it just makes you go off immediately. Um, and this is just unbridled, uncontrolled, pissed off anger from something. It can be small. It can be anywhere from like this guy took my cannon minion and didn't get me to kill. This guy said something in chat along the lines of, "Oh, jungle diff because he died once in lane, and now I'm fucking livid that he's complaining about me." Um, this one is definitely, I think, one of the more common forms that I see often, because this is also that one where like somebody will say something in jest to you in chat. Like most of the team can tell this guy is making a joke about something stupid somebody on your team just did, and the person who did that stupid thing automatically just turns defensive, gets super pissed, and just starts attacking back. So it's definitely that one, Draven players often see it with them. And that's not a miscategorization. Tyler 1 is the poster boy of this shit. Like, straight up can be the most common form I think I run into. I occasionally, when I become this person, is when I realize I'm really tilted, because I don't generally, I do my best not to respond in chat if I can. The only time I become this person is if I'm getting obscenely tilted. Um, the next form, or stage, or whatever you want to call it, I think this is the one that goes hand in hand, I think, with Denial Victim very heavily here. And it's that one more game. You know what? I call it the Gambler. Because this is where you start changing up your champion pool. This is where you're just like, you know what? My main champions aren't working. I'm going to go over, instead of playing my top 3, I'm going to pick up Zac. Whatever. I don't play Zac, but he's an easy tank. He's in my wheelhouse. He's got like a 56% win rate. You're starting to look up win rates. You're starting to pick out things. You're trying to make these educated guesses on who you could potentially play that's going to just net you free wins, right? Like, I don't play Udyr, but he's broken as shit. I'm going to play Udyr now. Like, you're that player who's been losing enough games or just lost a game just bad enough that you just decide, I'm throwing away all the stuff I know just to put my hedge on what I think is OP because I want to win.
Didn't you used to do that?
I do this a lot. I do this one a lot. I ain't gonna lie. I go through this one a lot. I recently went through this one a lot. Nowadays, I'm not even like the other weird thing about it also is not always that it's like I want to win, but sometimes I just get an itch to play a really weird champion. Like today, I just had the itch to play Warwick. Like there was no reason for it. There wasn't like, oh man, I've been losing on my main champions. These games have been going horrendous. I want to play something else. It's like, no, I just felt like playing Warwick. I watched a video, somebody talked about Warwick, and I was like, damn, I want to play fucking Warwick. So I have an issue of trying to figure out when I'm in this stage of tilt and when it's just me being erratic and weird.
Wait, I wouldn't even call that tilt though. I'd just call that poor decision making because I do that all the time. And I don't.
I'll
I'm
do
not
it as poor
tilted when I
decision
do it.
making too, but I think I've done this one when tilted. Like I do this
Oh,
one
okay.
when I'm tilted. I do this one the most. Like when I'm tilted, I've lost 3 games in a row. Okay, fuck all my champions. I'm gonna just start picking some new champions to play. And so like this form of tilt, I think I do this type of tilt, and I think you can do this kind of thing when not being tilted, but you're not doing it for the same reasons. You're just like, fuck it, I want to play something else.
Yeah, actually, I've done that when I'm tilted too, in the sense of like, let's say I lost 3 games in a row or something, then I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna lose the next one anyway, I might as well play a champion I want to play.
Yeah,
And I feel like playing Yasuo now.
yeah,
And then you know where that goes.
I mean that goes to one of your Smurf accounts, and then you start making YouTube montages of the like one game that went right on Yasuo.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I only play Yasuo on my main.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, but yeah, I've been playing Yasuo on my main too. I actually played him enough to like feel confident.
Nice. I can't play that champion. Like I know enough about him that I'm like, oh yeah, I could do a basic Keyblade combo. I don't like him. I don't
You know
like how
what's
he
crazy?
feels.
For like the longest time, whenever you or someone else like told me they thought I was a really like mechanical player or whatever, I never like agreed with it. But recently, I've been popping off and actually practicing like random combos and shit. Not just on Yasuo, but like Lee Sin, Gragas, like and yeah, I for the first time in a long time, if someone said that I play really mechanically well, I'd I would like be like I'm amazing, but above average. Yeah, I think I'm above average.
I felt like I'd said it before that I thought you're like mechanically you were better than you were macro wise, but I also like you make simple macro decisions, and because they're simple, they work. Like you're not trying to outthink them, you're not trying to outplay them. You're just like, I'm just gonna wait for them to try to do something into me, and then I'm gonna beat their ass because I'm a better player than them. And that's how Darthno plays it too. And that's why I always thought it was like mechanical. Is like you're not thinking about like how am I gonna get this dragon. You're just like they're gonna fight around this dragon probably. I'm just gonna wait for them to come at me, and then I'm gonna kill them, and then I'm gonna take the dragon because now they're all dead. And like for me it was like I'm planning out every step of how we're getting to the dragon, how we're setting up the wards, how we're doing all this
Yeah,
stuff. So like
yeah,
I'm thinking it out so much, and then you're like, nah, like
yeah.
I
No,
don't
I
have to
mean,
be here.
my thought process is, there's gonna be 5 or 10 of us at dragon. There's 5 people on the enemy team. I just need one of them to fuck up. I just need to wait for one guy, right? I don't need to outplay like some crazy outplay in a specific moment. I just need to wait for one guy on the enemy team to do something dumb, and then I punish him, and then we see what happens next. Like you're right. I don't have like, which this is the part where I definitely completely agree with, where I'm not like thinking like these amazing steps ahead or anything like while I'm positioning. I'm just like, I just need one of them to fuck up. I just need one of them to walk too close to where I can combo them and walk away without getting punished.
Yeah, and I think this is what had led to arguments before when we'd gotten into arguments about if you were mechanical or macro and if I was macro or mechanical. And it came down to the fact of like I was trying to figure out how to put it into words, but I was always so
Yeah,
angry at that point that I just couldn't
yeah.
vocalize like
Cause
what I
like,
wanted to say. I was just like,
yeah.
no, like you're
'Cause
wrong. Like
I was gonna say one thing for sure is I don't feel like I'm doing anything like during those moments mechanically crazy. Like I might go in and do a good trade, but it's not because I did like some mechanical thing. It's more like I just generally assess the situation, and I didn't try to do anything insane. I just know that if you have 5 people, one of them's bound to fuck up. Like,
yeah,
and that's all I'm waiting for.
and I think that comes down and even in that situation I'll agree it's not necessarily mechanical there, but I think you have like a localized macro, right? Like you're very
Yeah.
good in
Okay.
like
A
you have
good.
seeing the picture of the entire fight going down, like you're watching, you're
Yeah.
waiting, you're able to scan the situation very well, uh
Yeah.
which it is a form of macro, but I think it's not like
No.
it's
Yeah.
not
It's
big
not like.
picture.
Yeah.
It's
It's
yeah.
not big picture. It's I think a good way to put it. It's actually something that I was good at in soccer a lot too, and I think in fighting games, it's an easy way to talk about it. Is I'm good at like the neutral. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, you're good at
Like
the neutral
like
game.
yes, I'm not. I don't see like the full combo and everything going ahead, like, or where I should position, but I understand the neutral in the sense of like, okay, like when that guy steps too far, I know when I can win the trade, and I just know those specific windows. I don't know like what's supposed to happen after, or why my positioning before caused that to happen. I just know if I'm this distance from him and I maintain that distance, when one of us oversteps, I can outplay him. And it's not like some crazy outplay. It's literally just a quick trade.
That's such an
Yeah.
interesting way to look at it too, because like whenever you hear people talk about League of Legends micro and macro, you think about like StarCraft 2, right? Like they
Yeah.
talk about mechanics and then they talk about macro. So they go into macro and micro and who has mechanics. And like it's so hard to talk about League that way because while there's so many similarities to League and like an RTS because it comes from an RTS is what MOBAs come from, that the way you play it is so vastly different that there are elements like from a fighting game, like the neutral, like you're talking about. You don't have a neutral in fucking StarCraft. There to a small degree, there's a neutral, but it's not as like
Yeah.
there's not
There's
as
there's
many. There's just it's you.
there's when
Uh,
I played in Wings of Liberty, there was definitely like a neutral because there was a point where your army and their army are like positioning around, but there's a lot of other things going on too, like
mhm.
macroing and microing, but they're still neutral. I think there's a
Yeah, I
lot
guess there is
there's
because
a
it's
lot
when your armies are meshing next to each
yeah,
other and
and
somebody missteps. Like yeah.
it's usually when you have like the very first few units,
Mhm.
because when it gets too big, then there isn't really much of a neutral because you just start to steamroll each other and reproduce. But like, especially in Wings of Liberty, when I played, there was a lot more of a neutral because your first like 8 to 10 units basically decided whether or not you won the game. Versus now, where like 8 to 10 units does nothing, and you need like a whole fucking army. But I
Yeah.
mean, people don't like the game because of that, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and I imagine that that's also something that happens. That's like well, so like the neutral game gets overlooked. I think more in StarCraft than it
Yeah,
does in like a
yeah.
fighting game.
Well,
Like neutral is
it-
very important in fighting game. Like you have to, if you don't have a good neutral game, you can get abused really well because like often if you don't have a good neutral game, sometimes you'll end up backing up too much, giving up too much space, and now you're almost to a wall, and they can just kind of force a combo on you and knock you into the wall. Um, and there's certain aspects of that, or like if you're watching how they're doing their spacing and they go for like aggressive plays for no reason and they leave themselves open, you can get a good attack in you know
do you watch Melee at all?
so I don't watch as much Melee as I used to. I used to watch with like Mango, Mewtwo King, like all those
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
from the old
Back in the
days.
day. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say this is my analogy of what I think of myself as a player, right? So I feel like when people say I'm a micro player or something, like
Are you an Ice
they
Climbers? Is that what you think?
no, no, no. They think that I'm like Mango or something, right? Which I completely disagree with. I don't play like that at all. And then I don't think I'm like Mewtwo King where I'm a macro player either. I think the closest thing I can think of myself is PPMD. Do you know?
Really? You
Um,
think you're Dr. Pee, huh? It's
yeah, he plays the neutral like beautifully, and he's not
yeah.
like trying to big brain anyone. He just completely understands like how to distance himself to where he just gets favorable trades.
If
But
I
he's not like trying to like big brain like understand everything you're doing, and he's not like out microing anyone like Mango, you know?
So if I had to peg you as like a melee player, I'd actually put you more on the like Hungry Box side of things.
Oh, okay, yes, that works too.
I,
Actually, yeah,
I, I as much as I kind of agree with like the neutral aspect of PP, I think you're more of the Hungry Box where there's a good mix of that micro, but like you're just waiting for them to position wrong and then you sleep kill. And like
yeah,
that's more of where I would kind of
yeah.
now
I agree with that actually. That's a good one too. I I guess I use PP because I like PP more, but
that's fair.
and
Like
the craziest part is HBox, like as much as he says that his fingers aren't that good and he's not that micro, recently, like the past few years, his micro has been insane. Like
oh
his
dude.
movement and stuff, he's
I
actually so good.
I've been watching some Leffen stuff every now and then. Leffen feels like he is kind of just falling down though. Like he doesn't feel the same as like when he was hitting the scene back in the day when he was beating Armada all the time. Like he just feels kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels weird watching him now. Like he doesn't feel the same. Um,
I think watching him, it feels like back then he played like he had something to prove, and now he plays like he knows he's a good player already.
that's
But I
fair.
don't know if that's like completely true, right? That's
Yeah,
just how I look at it.
that feels somewhat right. Like back then he had to prove that he could beat Armada and he could beat all the gods, and nowadays he's basically another god. So it's
Yeah.
like he has nothing left to have to prove. I mean, I feel like Zero was kind of approaching that in 4, and then when Zero just kind of left, like he left before he had that moment of like where he kind of goes down in the feeling of having I no longer have to prove anything. I'm the best, and just leave at the top. And I think Leffen's kind of just stuck around past when he's at the
Uh,
top, and it's not
I
like
think
he's actually gotten worse or anything. It's just he doesn't have that same drive. Kind of that same thing that happens to league pros, right? Like after you've done it for so long, you've actually proven enough of yourself. What's your drive anymore? Uh, kind of that thought process of is Faker still the best in the world type of thing. Like because there's that argument, right? Like why hasn't he gotten another world's title since? He didn't look nearly as demoralized on the Huni team when they lost as he did when they previously had lost. Like
I think the other thing with Leffen too is that he plays other games now.
that
He
too.
seems like he's enjoying that.
That
Versus when he was first on the Smash scene, he seemed like he only played Smash and that's all he wanted to do.
yeah, he's definitely becoming more of a Mango at this point, right? Not like the drunken aspect of it, but like branching out, playing other games, just doing what he wants to do to a type of degree.
Yeah.
Um, which I still love watching Mango. Mango is fucking hilarious when he streams. Uh,
And I
what?
love when he talks about football stuff.
Yeah. But but before we get we already kind of went off topic, but for the last thing, so we can wrap up the tilt thing and we could actually just go into fun conversations or just another topic. The quitter was the last stage, and this is that person that's played a lot of games, has gotten to the point that they've lost so many games out of X games out of their last so many games, and they're just done. They're just burnt. They're just like, you know what? I'm never gonna win again. I don't feel like I got this. I'm just done. I don't think I'm ever gonna win. And then they'll still play a couple games, even though they say they're done. They
Yeah.
still play a few games, and then they're not trying. They're not doing anything. And then inevitably, this I think moves into kind of an acceptance stage that I kind of left out. But like, I feel like this is kind of that stage in tilt that if you've been tilting really hard, that if you hit this stage, it's a good thing you've hit this stage. It doesn't feel it at the time. It definitely feels terrible at the time because now you're definitely depressed about it. But it inevitably means that you're finally going to be moving back into, "Oh, okay, I'm playing for fun again to a degree." And when you start playing for fun again, when you start getting into that mental state of where it's just like, this is something you enjoyed doing, this is a game to a degree, this is something that the reason you wanted to improve is because of how much you enjoy it, you actually start, playing better again. You start doing well again. It's a unfortunate cycle, but because you get so happy and so up there and you're getting so good at, being happy that you're winning, you stop looking at the real reason that you were starting to get happy again, which was that you were enjoying it, and now you're focused really on that high of winning. And when you get focused on that winning high again, inevitably, when you start getting enough losses stringed together, is where the tilt starts coming in. So I feel like it's somewhat cyclical in the stages, but it's also somewhat cyclical in just League in general. And I think that that's a unfortunate toxic side effect of League of Legends. And I felt it in a couple other games, but League of Legends is definitely one of the worst ones that I felt that in. Is where it's just like I go through these phases of like, man, I'm riding that high of just feeling good about the game, but then I start focusing on how I need to get better, and I need to really start working on how good I need to get, and I focus so hard on it, then I stop focusing on how much I enjoy the game, and then it starts walking that line, and then I finally just break and have that like horrendously bad game, and it just starts plummeting my mental from there on out. And I don't know how it goes for you, but this is at least the cycle I felt in the
Yeah.
past year or two, especially since I started doing amateur stuff.
Well, I never played ranked as much as you do, so. But I guess one thing I definitely agree on is I've been in that, or one thing that I can count on is I definitely have been in that fucking stage where like I'm just like, all right, I'm playing, but I don't really care anymore. Like, and then if my team is down and all, I'm just like, well, I guess I lost this one too. Like, it's not that I'm like, I don't say anything in chat or anything, and like, I'm not saying anything to my team, but I'm in my head, I'm just like, well, we gave first blood. I guess it's over. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
even though normally I wouldn't really fucking care, like, I'd just be like, all right, I'm playing my game. And then instead, like, if my bot lane like gives up first blood or something, or one of my lanes, I'm just like, well, I guess I got that shitty teammate, and now we lost. But like, I don't say anything in chat, but that's what I'm thinking, and I'm in a horrible mental, but I don't say anything in chat, so my team probably doesn't know. And then usually I don't start the FF votes either. I don't know if, in fact, that's a common one, but I don't start the FF votes, but I'm always the first one to hit yes, like as soon as it comes up, you know. Where,
I've been in that stage, yeah.
where normally I don't want to do that. Like I usually don't like FFing.
I have moments. So like if I'm in like a I've been playing. I feel good. Oh shit, this one's taking a really rough turn. Like if it's a blowout game, it's like okay, I'm good with an FF here. Like and I'm not usually like I've played well that game, and there's not much I can do. There's a little bit of tilt coming from it because it's like man, I did it everything I think I could have done, and it's just you had that one guy who's having a rough game who went like a little 0-11 up in like bot or down in bot lane. Your ADC just went 0-11. He's super toxic about it. You've muted him, and the rest of you and your team just can't really make up the difference. And so it hits that 20-minute mark, and he's been spamming that surrender from 15. You guys have lost like 3 or 4 towers, and it's just like, all right. At that point, I'm like, all right. I think at this point, like, yeah, I don't know if we're really gonna come back. We can't really drag the dredges out of the pit over there. So that one person's given up enough that you kind of just feel like I have to surrender. Those are the moments I surrender. But if it's anything other than that situation, I don't like surrendering. I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say most of the time I don't even surrender because I'm angry or something. Like most of the time I'm just like, you know what? I guess I lost this coin flip. Just get me out and let me see the next one and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not, but
Yeah, that's definitely my feel when it's a surrender. It's like, oh, lost this coin flip, or it's just like, all right, this guy is just not stopping, and I'd rather just not let him destroy my mental. Let's just get me out of here before my
I'll
mental's
say
gone too.
one interesting thing about talking about this is I feel like you notice your teammates like behaviors a lot more than I do because I don't even I know that there are games where like my team types and like gets angry and stuff, but most of the time I don't pay attention to it. Or if I do, it's not where like I feel like I remember anything about it. I just remembered, well, you know, I remember playing this guy and this guy was or this game and this guy was really angry. Or I remember playing this game and this guy wrote like a fucking essay. I don't really remember what he said. I just remembered for some reason he really cared what he had to say. But I don't remember like specifically the words or his attitude. I just remembered, damn, that guy wrote an essay in my game.
Part
Or that guy was really mad, but I don't remember like why he was mad or think about it. But
part of that is I have an obscenely good memory, and that's the unfortunate aspect. It's somewhat of a curse, because every bad moment of my life that has been at any point semi-traumatic for little Nick, like when I was a kid, any point that was like semi-traumatic, like it wouldn't have been a moment that should have been traumatic for almost anybody else. But for some reason, my anxiety, everything flared up just enough. I remember that moment down to the like everything about it. And when it comes to league stuff like that, I guess because I just like to think that I like to be very analytical about stuff, I end up just picking up random useless memories of stupid shit that has happened. Like I can remember some games with where a teammate tilted so bad I can remember certain conversations me and them have had.
yeah,
Like
I believe that because you mentioned them to me a lot.
yeah, like
But I'm gonna say I don't think it's that I have a bad memory or something. It's literally like I just don't really fucking care what my teammates have to say most of the
I'm not
time.
trying to say you have a bad memory. I'm just saying I have an
Yeah,
unfortunately obscenely good memory. It is definitely a curse more so than it's a blessing. Like everybody can have a good memory. My memory is just I remember stupid random things I really wish I didn't. Like yeah, type of things. Like yeah, like I can remember a fight me and a friend had 15 years ago. And how that friendship ended. And I remember everything about that stupid fight. I haven't talked to that person for 15 years. I still remember that fight. Like it's stuff like that. Like there's no reason for me to remember this. It's held no traction on my life, but I can think about it and I
if
remember
they
it.
were like a good friend, I can see why you would
No, no, they
remember.
weren't. I knew them for a year. I knew them for a year, and it was because we went to school together. That's it. It's yeah, like I can't remember why we became friends. I can't remember much about the friendship, but I can remember how the friendship ended. Like yeah, I don't understand it myself. I have some stuff like that. I have moments like where I was trying to chase cats when I was a kid. I was like 6 years old at the apartment me, my mom, and my brother lived in, and I was chasing my cat and my aunt and uncle's cat because my aunt, uncle, and cousin were all staying there for like a week or two because they came down to visit the family. And so I was chasing their cat and my cat, and as a little kid, I would be in my underwear because it was my house, and shit, they could barely get me to keep clothes on out in public for that matter. I just liked being in my underwear for whatever reason. And even still to this day, I guess I actually enjoy that. I feel like it feels more free. Anyhow,
I wanted to make that joke, but I guess you did it for me.
um, but like I remember chasing this, and then my aunt and uncle came back to the house, and they walked in, and I'm there in my underwear trying to wrangle cats in the bedroom that they were staying in, and my uncle got mad at me for because he had anger issues back then, and I just remember those moments and running out of there, terrified, clutching my cat, and going to my room crying myself to sleep. I don't remember why I was so upset. I don't remember why I even
I
remember
mean,
this memory.
that sounds kind of traumatizing. I can see why you.
He yelled at me for all of like a minute. Like nobody but me remembers this story. Like nobody remembers this but me. But I remember it like vividly. Like everything I
Dude,
was doing.
you know what I remember as a kid? That's a really fucking weird memory. that I have no clue. I still like. I'm curious if anyone has ever had memories like this. I remember waking up on my uncle's couch, who lived near us, and I remember waking up, but I don't like. I don't remember how I got there. Oh yeah, my grandma lived with him, so she used to take care of me. But I remember waking up on that couch. It was like 7 p.m. And I don't remember what I was doing before, or why I was there, or how I got there. Like I just woke up and I was there. Now that I actually am thinking about seeing it out loud, I'm pretty sure like I fell asleep and my parents just needed someone to babysit me, so they brought me to my grandma's. But I must have fallen asleep like before I even got in the car. Do you get what I mean? So my parents fucking picked me up, brought me in the car, brought me to my grandma's house, and then I woke up and I was just like, why the fuck am I here? And like, why is it 7 p.m. at night? I don't remember it being nighttime when I don't remember what I was doing before I fell asleep, but I know it wasn't nighttime. And I know I wasn't at my uncle's house. Like, why the fuck am I here? I'm so confused. And then I remember waking up and my grandma talking to me, and I was just like, oh, grandma's here. All right, awesome. My grandma's really nice to me. But yeah, but I literally don't remember. I remember the day, and I remember not knowing why I was there, or how I got there, or how it was nighttime because it wasn't nighttime from what I last remember. But I also don't remember what I was doing before I got there. But yeah, that's like one of the weirdest memories I have.
Have a memory like that. Yeah, I had a memory when I was 3. So mind you, 3 freaking years old. I shouldn't have a memory from this time at this point, but I still remember it vividly. I
I was
woke
gonna
up
say
in the back seat of my mom's car, and she said, and I like yawned, stretched, and I'm like feeling real good. I'm 3 years old. My mom asks me, "Oh, did you have a nice nap, Nick?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Do you dream about anything?" I was like, "Do you remember when you were born?" And this is the question I just bold faced asked her that, and she's just like, "No, no, I don't remember that." And I was like, "Yeah, I just remembered it. It's like going from this like black. I don't know what to call it." She's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I guess nothing." And then just being here, and she's like, okay. And my mom just turns back to the steering wheel and like ignores me for the rest of the car ride. And I just went on being super, super
I
happy.
would
I legitimately just went from like having a dream about not existing, and then all of a sudden I'm 3 years old. Like, that's where my consciousness kicked in. And like, as I got older, it just started making sense to me. I was like, I literally just came to a realization that I was conscious in that moment. Like, that was me as a 3-year-old realizing I was a conscious being. Like, that's so weird. Like, it's such a weird memory to have, but I remember it vividly.
that is
I,
pretty weird.
I've asked my mom about it too, because I every now and then I just think about that memory, and she's like, "No, where were we at the time?" And I explained to her, I was like, we were on our way to the trailer." She's like, "Okay, that could have been on any number of years." So I was like, "Well, yeah, we lived there for like 2 years." She's like, "Yeah, no, I don't. Do you remember what car we were in?" I was like, "Mom, I was sitting in the back seat. What? I'm a 3 years old. I'm more like traumatized by the fact that as as an adult, I can remember being 3 and realizing I was conscious. Like that. Like I, it's such an odd memory to come to a realization that you have that. Like you literally just were nothing, and then you're 3. Like, but so this is supposed to be a league podcast. You got any little
Yeah,
things you want to talk about?
we're totally off topic. I don't know. Let's look at the little list.
Oh yeah, 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 we got a list now. Any of those
Oh,
no?
climbing. Actually, yeah, I'm curious. What would you, climbing and improving? I like those topics.
You like those ones? All right.
Yeah.
What about those ones? Like,
How many how many games would you consider stacking up?
what do I
Oh,
consider
no,
stuck?
no, actually, and and I like the other topic that I listed where like let's say from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, what would you say is like a good amount of improvement, and then like season to season, what would you expect as a good level of improvement?
I feel like so that second question is a bit more loaded, I think, because that's going to be relative to the player, and I think that really changes person to person.
Yeah, well, it
Like,
also changes whether or not you're actually trying to improve, right?
yeah,
Because to me, it doesn't really matter. Like realistically, season to season, I don't think like, well, next season I better be a better player than I am right now. I'm just like, if I'm still playing League next year, that'd be kind of disappointing. I don't think, I don't think, damn, if I'm playing League next year, I better be better than I am today. I'm just like, damn it, if I'm still playing League next year, I've been playing for like fucking 12 years now.
God, I've been playing a long time.
I
In
know,
season
right?
11, I technically started season 1. Jesus Christ Almighty. Oh,
I think I started two, so
oh
it'll be like
God.
10 years for me.
I can't believe. Holy shit. All right, yeah, that's a real weird realization. Um, so I think for old timers like us, the expectation kind of comes down to your own drive. Like for instance, like for you, realization of how much you want to improve really just comes down to how much you really want to play and how much what do you expect for yourself. If you're just expecting to still have fun with the game and you just want to maintain the rank that you're at, I think improvement just comes down to being able to adapt to how the game's changing. Um, if you're more somebody like me who's some reason trying to maintain to hold on to some type of relevancy to make it feel like these last 11 years haven't been a waste of time, then I think you actively need to find that happy middle ground of being able to focus on improvement and still focus on the fun. Because for me, whenever I get super caught up in trying to improve, I find every which way I dislike this game. I find every single moment about the game I dislike, every single element about the game I dislike, and it's not always necessarily trying to blame those for why I'm not improving, but it definitely makes it harder to improve when I'm just so focused on the negative aspects of the game. And it becomes very hard for me to enjoy the game and improve because I want to get better, but then I'm losing because I'm doing all these new things to try to be better and I'm not good at them. And so because of that, like it's kind of that same thing that leads back to the tilting aspect of it. But I think if we're looking at a new player, somebody coming in new to league, maybe you've played for a year, maybe you've played for just a couple months. I think you don't really set an expectation that you're gonna just magically become top tier at the game. Now, sometimes if you're just obscenely good at video games, or if you're just really good at a specific champion in league, that could happen. We see people every now and then that are just like, I'm a 13-year-old that started playing because my brother played, and now I'm a challenger Riven player. Just happens. Sometimes these kids are just really good at it, and sometimes because you're a kid, you can hyper focus on these things and get really good at it. Um, and you have nothing but school to worry about. So I mean, you have no stress in life really. So, um, but for somebody who has, let's say, an average workload, has other things going on, then I think that the biggest thing that you need to look at for improvement is the reasons why you're wanting to improve. Um, and then does this conflict with reasons that you enjoy the game? And as long as it doesn't, then I think you're going to see good improvement. You don't have to focus too terribly hard on it. You're going to see some static improvement as long as you can maintain that love that you have for the game, or at least that liking that you have for the game. But generally, those that want to improve have some type of love or care about it. So you generally want to make sure you can maintain that thing that allows you to enjoy it while still looking at the factors you need to change. So don't change too many things as well. I think at the beginning of the season, the first thing you need to do is figuring out the season, cracking how you're going to fit into the meta. And then as the season progresses, you need to kind of just allow small things about your playstyle to change. Okay, start looking at, small things about yourself, depending on what role you're in, what potentially am I doing that's holding me back? Watch some of the pros if you want to improve. Watch some videos if you want to improve. And kind of see what they're talking about. Take everything with a grain of salt, because each player is different. Each person's going to look at the game differently. It doesn't matter how similar your viewpoints are to another, Riven One Trick. You might want to be a little bit more defensive than they play. Maybe they're just hyper aggressive and that's how they're winning, but you're kind of a defensive, weird Riven that plays for letting them to play into you, and then you beat them up when they overextend. Um, you know,
You're not into like oddly specific things.
I mean,
I was just thinking of like a broad term of like, okay, at the beginning of the season, if I'm like at this rank, realistically, what would make me happy like by the end of the season? And is that even a realistic thing that every season you're gonna improve as a player, or is it okay to have seasons where like me, where you go down or stay about the same? And is that normal? Is that
uh, I
what
mean,
people would
it
want?
can be normal. I mean, it's very hard to not get super specific. There's so many
I
different
guess the other
players.
issue is, yeah. Well, I just meant if you're a player who's trying to improve, like, is
Okay,
that normal? Like, I guess
if
it
if
doesn't
you're
count for me because I'm not like
yeah,
actively trying to improve, you know.
okay.
But I feel like if someone is actively trying to improve, is it normal for them to, let's say, you're gold 2 one season and the next season you're still in gold 2?
Yeah,
Is that normal?
that can be normal. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're still trying to improve and you're not seeing an improvement in rank, sometimes this could be the case. You are a type player. There are people that are type players. There are people like me who generally play tanks. You have people that play only assassins. There's going to be people that play only bruisers.
oh
If you're
yeah,
a type player, that could just mean that this is just not a good season for your type of game, and maybe you're not the guy that likes to break the meta and think outside the box and start problem solving. And if you're
yeah,
not that person that likes to do those things, then it's okay. If you're maintaining the same rank, that's actually kind of impressive. You're at a point where you're like, okay, it's not my meta. I don't have an interest in trying to figure out how to make this meta my bitch. But I want to just improve. So focus on your mechanics. Focus on the small things you can improve on. Yeah, it might not gain you a ton of elo, and it might not gain you any elo. But if you feel like you're improving and you feel like you're doing well, then improvement comes from your mental to a large degree. If you are feeling like, man, I really haven't done anything this season, is that okay for you? Like, if you're actively trying to improve and you don't feel like you can, your options then, always become that there are tons and tons of coaches available out there. Yeah, you're gonna have to throw some money at it. But sometimes to get better at something, you kind of have to. Sometimes you have to seek outside help. I know for me, these last 2 years of starting to do amateur stuff has helped me understand, the ability to start looking at myself introspectively. That was always a shortcoming of mine. I could never really focus on my own problems. I could never really focus on how to improve myself. And I always would go to these, analysts talking about pro players, talking about people that are doing the right things when they make small mistakes that become big. Being like, look, I just make small mistakes, but turns out because I'm not doing all the right things, that small mistake doesn't mean shit. There's so many other things I'm doing wrong that it doesn't matter that I'm making that small mistake. That small mistake's a small mistake when you've already fixed most of the other problems. Uh, uh,
yeah.
and that's,
I agree with that for sure. I think you do that a lot.
yeah.
You
Uh,
like you focus on some random mistake you made that I feel like isn't that important, but you think it is.
and I mean,
Or at least that you think you need to fix it when there's other more like
there's more pressing
important problems.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to also just
Or
being able to be open and and
I guess
receptive to other people's opinions as well.
yeah. I guess
Um,
the other thing is like it's not that most of them are wrong. Like there are specific things that you, not just you, but anyone like takes into account as important. But it's only important when like you've got most of the other stuff down, and usually most people don't have the other stuff down, which is
mhm.
like an example is CSing. Like some people think getting perfect CS is like a huge thing that they need to practice, which is a huge thing you need to practice if you're playing against people who can team fight as well as you and can rotate as well as you and have map awareness as well as you and understand how to ward and fucking clear as well as you do. So then the CS is what the last thing that is different, you know. But when you're playing in like where I'm at, even like plat or like below, even I think even diamond, because when I was diamond, I didn't really work on CSing or anything, and like things that are important, like CSing is like near the end of it. Like it's not that it's not important, right? But if you can CS like 80% as well as the other guy for the most time, or like 80% of fucking a perfect CSer, then you don't. It
S-
doesn't really matter, right? Like you have like 10 less CS than him on average, which is
and
like 100 gold. Like that's not the issue. That's not the most pressing issue, rather.
Mhm.
Like,
I think also it comes down to what season you're looking at, right? Like,
yeah,
so if we're looking back to when I was getting really into League, seasons 3, seasons 4, even into season 5, CSing was one of the most important things to get good at because that's how you made leads. The game was much slower, there was a lot less action. You know, if you got to a 50 death game, that was a massive fucking con fiesta. In the past couple of years, you see 50 death games at least once a week, if not more times than that. Yeah, I mean, they're so common now by comparison. Um, and that's because the game has shifted to more being around what's your skill about being able to outplay your opponent? What's your ability to outposition for bigger objectives? Farming is still important, of course, but yeah, like you said, it's no longer a priority. It's definitely one of those things that have kind of fallen behind in terms of a priority thing for most champions and most players. There's a couple of champions out there that, you know, can just continue, you know, like, hey, you don't get kills, I don't get kills, I don't give a shit, you got a couple of plates on me. Guess what? I'm at 300 CS, I'm level 16, you lose the game. There's a handful of those still around, but, you know, that's not the predominant force that you see all the time. Um, and so I think one of the biggest pitfalls to fall into also is that, you know, there's just this one cure thing, right? There's this one thing I need to get good at, and it's going to
yeah.
work on everything I play. And it doesn't. You know, depending on what champions you play, that changes your game plan drastically. The things you have to be able to be good at, the things you have to be able to focus on, the ways to win the game with those certain types of play, those champions and the way they play, will change champion to champion, game to game. Um,
This actually reminds me of something I watched earlier, but damn, no flame, alright. But fucking, I was watching Ninja because he plays League now,
I saw that the other
right?
day. I saw him playing League the other
And
day. I was like, I wanted to bring it
yeah,
up, but I didn't.
and see, this is like he was complaining about how bad his teammates were, and he was like super fed, right? And it's so weird seeing someone who's like really good at another game play like League and then
He's
not
hard
being
stuck gold, dude.
like not even being like super good or anything, which is really weird, or not having some awareness of like certain things. But he was okay. This is like not just a problem with him. This isn't meant to be like specifically pointing him out, but a lot of people I feel like who have issues like climbing do this, and I've been I've done this too, but I haven't done this and been like, there's no way it's my fault, right? I've done this and then been like, bro, why'd I do that? Which is where he was like fucking 12-4 or something on Tristana, like fat out of his mind, but the rest of his team was losing, and so he could just run around and kill anyone he wanted. Like he was so far ahead of everyone, and he saw the enemy AD carry, who was like fucking 0-10, like 1-10, and he jumps in, flash alt ignites and kills him, like full combos him as a Tristana, and then goes back to the team fight. Like goes back to the team now that their teams are positioning for a team fight, and it's a 5v4, but it doesn't matter because he doesn't have anything to outplay. Do you like you you wasted your ignite, your flash, and your fucking ulti on Tristana to kill like a 1-10 useless champion on the enemy team. And then now that an actual fight breaks out, you don't have any skills to like outplay them with. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they all just jump on you and you die. And then he's like, you know, how did my team like fucking lose this or whatever? I already killed someone. And it's like, bro, you killed the person in the game that like does
Didn't
nothing, and
matter.
you burned everything for it. Yeah,
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's a really common thing where like people think like, damn, my teams are so bad. Like, how did we lose? And they like wasted
I
everything to kill someone who's useless, and then don't realize it how bad that is.
I can't
And
say that I
sports,
haven't done that. but I
The
know
worst
that I
part is
haven't
that,
done it much recently because I've noticed other people doing it, and it bugs the living shit out of me when
dude,
it happens
the
in my
worst
game.
part is like he could have just walked up and killed the guy without using Alt Flash Org, and instead he wanted to like make the pop off play, you know, where it's like, look how fast I can kill him, like I can just jump on him and press all my buttons and he'll die immediately, and it's
Like
like
if he just uses ignite and jump in there, okay, cool, you take the
if
kill.
he just or if he just jumped in, put E and press Q and so that it wouldn't kill him in 2 seconds, but you'd kill him over 6 seconds or something, but you'd still kill him, you know. But he's like, no, I gotta do my combo really quickly and instantly pop him and like yeah, but
So the other thing that I've noticed, extremely similar, is like teams ahead. All of my teams ahead. We all have shutdown available. There's a 0 and like 6 ADC. My ADC decides I can kill him. Support decides we can kill him. They try to dive. They have 0 vision set up. They have no reason to be going for this. Dragon spawns in 15 seconds. They're in a completely out of position spot. Nobody else on our team can get to them in time. They dive. They miss one of their abilities. The guy lives just long enough for the rest of his team, who's on their way down to the bot side of the map, to come contest this last Drake, kill them both, get shut down on both of them, force us off of the Drake. They take Baron. And team is like, oh, why was nobody there? It's like, no. Why were you there? Like, there's that is okay. I guess this is a universal tip for helping you improve. Don't do that. Don't be the person that's like kill, murder, murder, murder. You have to focus on objectives. Killing is the most basic thing you need to get good at in League. It's the first thing you need to get good at, but it's also the first thing you have to understand you don't always need. Kills are good. Kills allow you to get objectives. Kills allow you to get gold. Kills allow you to be enabled to do things. That being said, if all you are going for is kills and all you focus on is kills, that inhibits you from winning the game because
I,
you're
I
not
have
getting
an
the things
actual
that win it.
I have an actual question that's unrelated.
Sure.
When you're saying kill, murder, 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 were you making a reference?
I'm specifically referencing my previous top laner, whose mantra when we played together was kill, murder, murder, murder. And I know that
Like,
that's a reference to something else, but
yeah, that's the song by Eminem.
I'm specifically referencing
Oh,
him.
I was like, wait, Nick listens to that? That's pretty cool. And then I was like, that's a random ass reference.
Yeah, I guess, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, specifically I'm referencing him. I know it's a reference, but uh yeah, so like I think that just also accentuates the problem with like how do I improve? How do I get better? There's no surefire way to do it. There's not a specific just like here's the way to fix your problems. And a lot of those videos out there that you look for that are like, "Oh yeah, this is how I improve." are legitimately clickbait in that regard. They tell you this is going to be the thing that helps you improve the most, but every new thing that they make is this is the thing that's going to help you the most. Uh,
I mean, I
they-
think there's a lot of good videos, but they're just videos. You still have to like go and do the thing
it's one thing to
over.
know the thing; it's another thing to apply it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I failed for so many seasons. Is I had a shit ton of knowledge, and I tried to express to my friends that I had a shit ton of knowledge, but I couldn't apply it for shit. So nobody believed me that I had all this knowledge. And I had to keep telling them I just can't apply it. I'm just not good enough to apply it. And they're like, "Why aren't you? You understand it." And it's like, "Yeah, I understand it. It doesn't mean my hands understand it though." Um, and legitimately, it's been a very slow process to start like actually, you know, making my hands and my mind choreograph the same fucking thing. Um, and as I start focusing more on improving my abilities of microing, I'm not focusing as much on the macro, and vice versa. If I focus
I,
hard on one, I don't focus hard on the other, and I think that's a trap that a lot of people can get into too.
I
Um,
don't even feel like it was like a micro issue with you. I feel like there were a lot of things where where you made decisions where I wouldn't have made, and then you say that like you have a really good understanding of the game, but then I feel like there were situations where I'm like, where I see you like do something and then you die or something, and this is okay. This is like a common thing that you say that I've noticed, especially when you die. But you say like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen," or whatever. "I wasn't expecting this." Or remember like that one time you died to the Shyvana, and you were like, "Why is she here?" or whatever. And in my head, I'm always like, "Bro, if he does this, it's a mistake. Or if he does this, he's gonna die." And that's the main reason why like I have an issue of like when you say you feel like you have good game knowledge, and then stuff like that happens, and you say that, well, this shouldn't have happened, or he shouldn't have been there, but then
I don't think that's
you
game
don't
knowledge. I
punish.
think that's intuition. I don't have intuition for shit. I don't have an intuitive thought of like, yes, if I was this person, how is this going to happen? Or should he be here right now? Sometimes I do have that thought, and it's like, okay, I know who's
Yeah,
pathing, and this
I
motherfucker
don't.
should be there. And then all
Yeah,
of a sudden, he's not there. He's on top of me. Why are you here? Like, I'll have those moments. But like when
yeah,
I make those big mistakes like that, so let me think of one. So I have one on Gragas that happened recently, where I went for an E flash and the person flashed. And I'm like upset that he flashed. But like at no point had my team alerted me that they'd burn flash. I just assumed at some point that they probably did it, and it's an assumption that makes no sense to assume it. Um, but it's an assumption I had, and I got upset of why the fuck did he have flash. Um, and these are just moments of just like, why did I go for this play? I could have easily died in this play if he has flash and his teammate has hands. Luckily, his teammate didn't have hands, and so results-based thinking is it's not that bad of a play. Um, I actually am a little bit happy you brought that up. I'm a results-based, or I was at least a very. I'm still one, but I'm not as big of one. A results-based thinker. I do things based off of the fact that it works, or I don't get punished for it. So the more often I'm not punished for something, the more often I do it. Doesn't make it the right move. It's just, so far, it hasn't fucked up. And then it fucks up badly and loses us a game. And then I don't always realize that that's a move that I should never make. It's just, oh, this is one mistake. It just happened this one time that they managed to do it. And then it happens again. And it takes like 4 or 5 failures for me to realize maybe I just got lucky 12 times in a row. Um, uh, and that's the
yeah,
hard thing about it too, right? Like, because
yeah. I was gonna say the other thing is when I say that, I don't mean that everything you do, you mess up and it's wrong, but it's like enough of the time where it confuses me why you don't catch on sometimes, right?
and I think
Like,
that's an intuitive thought process that I just don't have that type of intuition. I don't have that type of thought. I'm thinking some.
yeah, and I don't even
It's
mean that in
like
the sense of like I actively think about it. It's more like I feel like
you have
sometimes
a
when
feeling about that situation though. You
yeah,
have a thought
yeah,
of, okay, this is what they should probably be doing here, and yet meanwhile I have a completely different thought because I don't. A big part of it comes down to one, we don't play the same way. Two,
yeah, you
um,
definitely do.
you are thinking of what could go. You are thinking more of, so like I try to be very, very, very proactive. You are very, very good on the reactive side of things though.
Yeah,
Like I think if I'm not proactive enough, we're just gonna lose. But you're more on the like, I'm waiting for them to fuck up and I can react and I'm much better as a player than they are and we'll win this most of the time. I don't have that type of confidence, so I'm trying to make them fuck up by just being like,
yeah,
surprise,
yeah.
bitch, here I
This
am.
this is definitely something I hard agree with because
So
I feel
um,
like you feel like you need to make plays happen, which
yeah,
is not something I ever feel like I need to do.
it's a feeling of mine because of the fact that I've previously, at least for jungle, I'd never really felt like I was a confident um, pathing player. Like I always said I was, but like deep down there was this feel like I suck at farming in the jungle.
Dude, I
Uh,
actually feel like I'm so bad at jungle, but then like somehow the other junglers just always worse.
that happens a lot, dude. And then I get a guy that's actually really good at it, and it
Yeah.
demoralizes the living
Yep.
shit out of
Oh
me.
my god.
It's like, oh fuck, this dude just like outpaths me. He's playing Jarvan, I'm playing fucking Udyr, and he's got
Wait.
double my farm somehow. Like, how is this happening?
Oh my god. I played a game earlier where the fucking Lilia had like 40 farm and my Udyr had 4 and was still at level 2. I don't know what happened.
That's a fuck up on
I
Udyr for
don't.
sure.
I was actually so confused. Like, I don't know if he tried to invade or something. I know he died like immediately after he got his buff,
Mhm.
but I don't know how he died because I wasn't really like paying attention. I think we ended up. Did we end up winning? Let me look. Let me look. Oh no, we lost that. Okay, but yeah, I don't know what happened, dude. Yeah, my jungler had less gold than my support. He got completely dumpstered. He was like level 2 and I was like level 6. Dude. But yeah, I don't I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I've been in situations kind of like that at one point or
It
another,
was,
I
it was
think,
like
but
8 minutes and my jungler still only had one camp. I don't know how.
ooh, that's a roughie.
It was weird, dude. But it wasn't like he was doing nothing. So like he died like
Hmm.
after he got his first buff, and then he tried to go to the other side, and he got invaded, and the Lilia took all his CS, and my duo and we were top and mid, so my duo went to help him, and he's like, "Hey, are you paying attention? Because like Udyr's getting invaded." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, let me come and help." And then I looked, and he had 4 CS, and I was like, "Wait, what? Like, how does he have 4 CS?" And then my dude was like, "Yeah, I have no fucking idea. He's getting dumpstered," and he died like immediately after his first buff somehow. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, he still only has 4 CS." And then so he lost his whole top side, so he couldn't farm that, and he went back bot, and the Lily invaded him on that side again. And at that point, I just didn't even go to help him because the Lily was like level 4 and he was level 2. I was just like, all right, you're fucked, buddy. I don't know what to do about that. And so he had no jungle camps because the Lilia took both sides of his jungle.
Oh god.
Yeah,
I had a game today. This dude went full lethality Jarvan. Um,
sounds.
and I'm playing Warwick, so like my first clear is going to be kind of atrocious. I got to look for a good level 3 gank potentially, because that's just how Warwick functions in the current goes. I look for a level 3 gank, can't find one. All right, I sell for crab, take the multi minion camps that are going to take me 12 years to clear anyways, and then I get my back off. So I looked for a gank, actually found a pretty good opportunity for one. Mid lane goes in a little too soon before I finish my blue buff. I finish blue and I'm heading over there and she dies. And it's like, well, shit. Okay, I'm not going to have a gank now. And so I'm trying to avoid fighting at this point. I look for top. My Singe almost kills the Shen, so I go up there to try to clear it up. I force the Shen's flash and everything, and so Shen misses 2 waves of farm for my Singe. So like, cool. So I head back down to the crab, and I should have guessed based off the fact that I saw Orianna moving up to the top river that Jarvan's setting up a play to kill me. I dodge his EQ, still managed to get killed because I just my W wasn't off cooldown. I don't have positioning to get out of there, and my Kiana wasn't back to lane yet. So just a bad choice by me here. And then I look at farm. It's like I've done 3 camps. Usually Jarvan, based off of that speed, I imagine Jarvan's got a camp up on me, right? So I know he hadn't taken the crab yet when I died, and I look, motherfucker is full cleared his jungle as Jarvan was full HP meeting me at the crab. I am utterly shocked at this moment because nobody in gold knows how to full clear his Jarvan and not be almost half dead in the process of doing it. So he takes this crab. The next time I clear his bot side because he tries to gank top. I take his bot side. I get the bottom crab. I clear my bot side. I'm at like 32 farm. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm 32. He probably, he looks like he hasn't done a back yet, so he's just sitting up there top side. What is he at? And I look, motherfucker's got 48 farm. I'm like, how? How is he managing this? He hasn't backed, but like he's been showing in top. Like there's no way he grabbed that many waves from his top laner, right? Like there's no way. Turns out he did, and it pissed off the Shen, but we didn't know it at the time. But like he had just taken like 2 whole waves from his Shen. He comes over to Dragon. I don't know it because I don't have a ward. He takes the Dragon, finishes it. It doesn't have anything on his bot side, so it didn't clear it. But like throughout this game, this guy is out farming me on Jarvan, and it is like infuriating me. It is like pissing me the fuck off that I'm losing farm to this Jarvan, who is like failing on his ganks, playing full lethality, getting himself blown up in every fight. Like, and it was just pissing me off to no end to watch this guy just out farm me. And like, I'm trying to figure it out. And I've come to realize now like my pathing isn't terrible. It's not great, mind you. I fuck up on pathing quite often. But on champions I'm comfortable on, how people are out farming me, motherfuckers are just stealing entire waves from their laners now. Like, I'm like the only jungler that's not taxing every one of my lanes as I pass by. Like, it's so insane to see this, but like these guys are getting like 3-4 level advantage off of me just by taking like 3 caster minions. I take 3 caster minions, and then they're just gaining so much XP higher than me because my camps don't give me shit. And it's been one of the most infuriating things to try to figure out how these guys are out farming me. Because I felt like I've spent so much time in the past 3-4 months to try to improve my CSing to the point that I can maintain a 6 or higher CS score in most of my games. And yet somebody's still at like 10 on jungle. And I'm just like, how the fuck are you managing this? Like, I'm getting so pissed at it. And yeah, today was one of those ones. I ended up winning that game, and I had a terrible CS score in the end of it. But he also did not beat me in CS, so that was my happy moment, is that I beat him in CS in the end. I beat him by like 3 minions, but like I did it. But what was our original topic here? We were talking about improving.
I have no. Oh, I was asking what you can expect realistically to improve season to season and from beginning the season and the season, but we got completely off track. I don't remember how we got so off track, but we were really off track.
uh, so I do like that climbing topic though. I feel like the improving one is one that we should really wrap a whole episode around though, in the future, because I feel like there's so many different variables to talk about with the improving one. I feel like it's a great topic, but like I feel like it's one of those ones that it's hard to just be like, this is what you should expect. Because we can say set goals, but what's a realistic goal? And it's going to be
Yeah,
relative depending on
that's
what
what
rank you're in and how much you're trying and what you're doing to try. What efforts are you putting to improve? What outside resources are you using? Like, there's so many intangibles you have to measure to kind of get a generalized idea of it, that I think that one's better saved for an episode where we're not already over an hour on. um, but the climbing one, I think, is a much simpler one. I think how many games is good and how what is considered stuck. I love both of those questions, to be honest, because how many games is good is really hard for me to answer in a serious tone of like, oh, it's this many, here's a direct number. As the guy that played in the 2020 season, let me look at my total number of games. 2020 was 1,500.
the fuck.
I had 1,500 games last season.
So many.
I played a grand total of 87 champions last season.
Okay, how curious how many I played. Let's see. 67. You
So
played more. Well, you played way more games too. No?
I think the biggest thing comes down to, one, how much time do you have for League of Legends? Two, how much do you enjoy playing League of Legends? And three, does it matter? You can play as many games as you want. If you're stuck in an elo and you've played over 1,300 games and you're still in that elo, which I ran into a Teemo the other day that had 1,200 games on Teemo and is in gold 3. It's not stopping him from playing ranked. I think you can play as many games as you want a season, right? Like, I don't think
Yeah.
that there's a like how many games is good. But in terms of like, man, where do I expect myself to start from in the season? Okay, I'm starting below where I want to be. How long does it take me to get to where I want to be? If it takes you more than like 300 games, then there's two things to look at there. One, you weren't as good as you thought you were. Maybe the last season was better for you. Maybe you're not as bad as you think you are, but there's some outside factors there. Two, you've obviously been improving in those 300 games to the point that you managed to get back to where you wanted to be. Yeah, it may have taken longer, but the upside of it is that you got there. Don't be upset that it took you so damn long. You got there inevitably. Look at how you got there, and at those moments where you felt like you couldn't get there, what was holding you back? Uh, and then this kind of ties into the hard stuck aspect of it. I think being stuck and being hard stuck are two completely different things, though. Because like I'm stuck right now. I'm stuck between Gold 1 Plat 4. Like I'm in promos back to Plat 4 again. But
Oh shit. I'd like to.
I am stuck in these two spots. Last season I was stuck there. Season before I was stuck in Plat 4. Season before that I was stuck in Plat 4. Like, and it's not necessarily a hard stuck, because I think a hard stuck is where really you stay one rank and you are just stuck in that one rank forever. And, you don't move up or down at all. You were just like hard stuck in that spot. You have a pretty hard 50-50 win rate. You're winning about as much as you're losing, but you're just not stringing enough wins together at a time to get through to the next, to breaking barriers or anything. Or maybe you go up a rank, but then literally in like 3-4 games, you're back down to the rank you were before. So I'm on the verge of being stuck and hard stuck, somewhere in that range, right? But I think, stuck is not necessarily bad. There's always a negative connotation to it, right? Because you're not climbing, you're not moving up, you're not getting better. But you're at a spot where you should relatively be based off of your current level. So that being said, you now have an area where you can take kind of a baseline for yourself. Okay, so how I play currently has me where I am. If you manage to start getting this season's kind of rough to say this, but if you have a 54, above a 50% win rate, that's a good thing to look at, because that's generally how you climb, is an above 50% win rate. That being said, I have a 52% win rate. Sark has a 48, and the motherfucker's still higher than me.
Wait, I have a 48. I thought it was lower.
Oh no, there you go. It makes it even worse.
Yeah, oh wait, let me refresh it. Yeah, I have a 45% win rate. Come on.
There you go. 45% win rate. Somehow is not demoting at all. Meanwhile, I'm at 52 and I'm having a very hard time climbing. So this season's MMR is all types of jacked.
Wait, no, you're like up a lot, aren't you? You started. I'm pretty much where I started, so.
So I went back and looked. I got placed in gold 2.
Yeah, I think I. Oh wait, you did. Okay.
I got placed in gold 2. I demoted very fast to gold 4 at the beginning of the season, but I got placed in gold 2.
Okay. Yeah, I placed in like plat 4 something LP, so I've only gone up a little bit.
That being said, you have a 45% win rate in your plat 3, plat 2.
Yeah, but I mean, at the beginning, I was like gaining 20 and losing like 10.
Valid point. You had a much better MMR at the beginning, and you haven't been gaining MMR.
Oh,
That being said, I had a terrible one.
My MMR is still fine too. I think that's a big thing. I gained like 18 still, and I'm playing against like plat 2s and 3s still, even though I was plat 4. So
my MMR is back to gold 2, like top of gold 2 finally. So it's about to start heading into the gold 1. If I can get into plat 4 and bring my MMR up with me, it could be a good improvement. That being said, back to the stuck topic aspect of it though. I think stuck is very negative in tone, and it feels very bad because you're not moving. But just know
I
that
guess I meant stuck in the sense of like, if you're playing a bunch of games and you're actively trying to improve, when do you think would be a good time to say, okay, I've been here for too long. Like, if I want to go up more, I clearly need to take a break and look at what I'm doing wrong and change things. Or if, let's say, you've played a certain number of games and you've gone up a lot, like what amount would you say is a good amount to where you're like, okay, clearly I'm doing something right here? Because like, let's say I've played 50 games and I've climbed the whole time versus I've played 50 games and I've only gone up one tier. Does that mean, is that good enough? Like, do I play 50 more and see if I go up one more, or do I need to take time to like clearly look at things that I'm doing wrong, or like, or because even like being stuck in the same rank for like 20 games, I don't think is a huge deal. But I don't know when I would say, okay, clearly like I am not doing something right. Whether it be, okay, I need to look at different champions I should play, or I should look at how I'm playing and when I can change, like just that kind of stuff. I don't mean in the sense of like if you play 1,300 games or something, that there are other players who have 1,300 and it's doesn't mean it's a terrible thing or something, because there are plenty of people who like play 1,300 games but they're not like actively trying to improve. They just enjoy ranked and they queue up and They just play. I don't think they're like looking at guides and stuff and trying to like,
Yeah.
oh, am I CSing right every game and do I understand these matchups? It's literally just they play and they turn their brains off.
Okay. So yeah, if you're that person that's trying to grind, you're trying to get through. Um, so let's say it's the start of the season. You've done 50 games. You've gone from silver 2 to silver 1. Last season, you were gold 4 where you ended. It's taken you 50 games to go from silver 2 to silver 1. Let's say you have about a 48% win rate. That's not a great win rate, which generally can lead to some MMR loss. So that can suck. In that case, what you would want to do is take a break. Because at that point, even though you've managed to get to silver 1, you probably got to silver 1 within like 15, 20 games. But in those 50 games, you've now been stuck in silver 1 and you've been losing more than you're winning. And at that point, you could be killing your MMR because at that point, when you've stayed in a place for a while and you start getting more losses than wins, that's when your MMR starts tanking it down. And that's where you could start risking making it very difficult for you to climb farther. So I think at that point, roughly, when you start realizing, okay, I'm starting to get close to a negative win rate, or I am at a slight negative win rate, take a break, take a breather, maybe watch, a cool show that you want to watch, play a different game. And generally, the break can be anywhere from maybe just 2 to 3 days where you say, I don't play any ranked, and maybe I just watch League of Legends videos and content, or maybe I play some normals with friends, or you just play other games. But I think a good step away from the feeling that you have to climb helps really reset that mental game, and that really can give you maybe that step that you need to get back to where you were. Now, if you end up where you were, like myself, um, and you're still struggling to get past this area, like this feels like that unclimbable barrier. Um, you know, I got really close to passing this barrier. I got really close. I was 76 LP in gold in plat 4. I was almost there. uh, but to kind of get past your own barriers, there's kind of a mental block that you're gonna have at those barriers. I think that's a big thing. Is like you kind of start getting worried after you start winning enough of them. And is this going to continue to happen? Man, how far am I going to be able to keep going? And I think at that point, when you've won, let's say you've won 5 games in a row in a day, stop. Just stop playing for the day. Reason why is you have nowhere else to go but down. Yeah, you can continue to win, but if you're riding a high of winning 5 games and like you can feel yourself like becoming more happy, more excited from it, you're kind of becoming a little manic. You need to calm down. You need to step away. Do the same thing that you do if you're tilted. Because just on the flip side of that, if you're too upset, you're going to fail. If you're too happy, you're going to fail. Because you're not going to see those mistakes for a different reason. Because now you're thinking you're not making mistakes. You're obviously climbing. You become more results oriented. You become more of, I've been winning all my games. For instance, when I went on a 15-game win spree, I didn't stop. I just kind of kept going, and that was a really dangerous thing to do. And it ended up inevitably, a couple of weeks later, led to that same situation in reverse where I was losing and not stopping my losing. Um, so it's very easy to go too hard one way and too hard the other. Trying to keep a mental middle ground is the best thing you can do to prevent yourself from being stuck, and to allow yourself to climb. I think in terms of games, the only limiter you should set is how many games you should play in a day of ranked. If you are actively looking to make a massive improvement for climbing, the biggest thing that I've seen from a lot of different coaches have said this, a lot of people I've talked to have said this, limit how many games you play a day be it at a time or just in general. So for me right now, what I've done, outside of the fact that I'm taking a small break right now just to recollect myself to make sure I don't just flop out of my promos, is I can play 3 to 5 games a day of ranked by myself. If I have a duo, that's a different case. I really play until me and my duo feel like, something went wrong. We need to take a break. Usually when you have another person playing with you, it's a lot easier to determine that time of stopping because one of you's like, all right, I'm done. and that's generally a good sign to stop. uh,
Yeah.
uh, so when you're playing by yourself, though, if you limit yourself to those 5 games, what can happen from that is, hey, maybe you just lose all 5 games that day. Damn, that sucks. It's easier to bounce back though because you know you have 5 more games tomorrow that you get to play, and maybe you're like, you know what, I lost these 5 games today. I don't really want to play 5 games tomorrow. And guess what? You're gonna end up taking a break. You know, when you set a pre amount for yourself, it really does improve a lot because it helps you have a more oriented on your own. It makes you more oriented on your own performance as well. Um, and just because you set a limit for games as well, once you set a limit, you don't always have to go to that limit now. Not like, oh, I'll only play 5 games a day. Well, shit, I've lost 2 in a row. You know what? I'm gonna just not play the rest of them today because I don't want to. It's easier to know. 2 out of my 5 are already losses. I'm just gonna call it a loss for the day and just not play the rest of my games. And then you come back the next day and you never hit that tilt point. Like you never hit that point where you're too negative. You never hit that point where you get so having, I guess it's almost like a goal benchmark, right? Like, because you set smaller goals to make the bigger unachievable goals seem more obtainable. Uh,
I guess that's the way to look at it.
and this
Oh,
is
before you go on,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing with the 5 games. I guess if you win like 5 in a row, I don't think there's like a hard rule on whether or not you should like continue or not continue. But I think one thing for sure to think about is that when you're in that state of mind, one thing not a thought process not to get into is when you lose and you just won 5 in a row. I guess one way is it could impact you where it really irritates you, but in mine, when it happens to me, it's more like when I win a bunch in a row, I get in this mindset where it's like, oh, it's fine if I lose like one or two, I just won a bunch, and then before I know it, I'm like almost back to where I started, and I'm like, if I just had stopped at that point, it would have been way better, especially since I started to get complacent because I'm like, I just won 5 in a row. It's fine if I don't try as harder. I play like a different champion here that I normally wouldn't have played for fun because I just won 5 games in a row. But I think, and then it turns out that I end up losing a few and end up losing a bunch of LP that I would have had if I just took a break and like switched to normals or something if I really wanted to play.
Yeah, I think I don't think 5 is the
Right.
hard set. Like, oh, you've won 5 in a row, stop now. No,
Yeah.
in terms of it, like setting the 5 games a day. That's just a good barrier set.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just meant,
But in terms of when I said earlier, where it's like, oh, I've won 5 in a row, I need to stop now before I lose anything.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to set it at 5. You can set it, hey, maybe you've gone 10 games that day and you've won all 10. Like, damn, good on you. It's really whenever you start feeling, you can physically kind of feel your mental change in that regard. Because anytime you get enough wins in a row, you get enough of a dopamine kick that you start feeling like excited almost. Um, or for most people. Now, if you're Sark and you don't have emotions, then that's a completely different story. Um, because he doesn't seem to have that same emotional attachment that I see everybody else have. Like,
I get irritated. I just don't really show it, but I just stop playing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if you
Yeah.
have the ability to kind of just tell yourself, I need to stop here, it's just being able to say, I need to stop because I'm doing really well and I don't want to fuck it up, or I'm doing really bad and I need to stop. You just need to have those ability to punch those breaks at those points. And if you start just having it where you only play 5 games a day, it makes it so much easier in the long run. So that, like, hey, maybe you stop just only playing 5 games a day, but after you could start seeing patterns easier. You can start realizing, okay, I'm getting a bit too excited. I need to stop here. Or hey, I'm getting a bit too down. I need to stop here. Like setting that early barrier early on, I think gives you a better ability to later on if you decide to play a lot more games on how and where to stop.
Wait, I'm actually really curious about now that I'm looking at the list of stuff. I'm really curious about 5 and 6, especially 6 first because I feel like that's shorter. Unless you don't have much to say about your team and competing in leagues. Otherwise, I'm curious. Where do you see yourself at the end of the season?
Where do I plan on ending at the end of the season? My hope this season is pretty similar to most of the hopes of my last seasons, which is Diamond. I mean, I hope to crack Diamond. My realistic expectation right now is if I can get myself back from this 52% win rate back to my 54% win rate, I think that's very obtainable this season. I think I am improving a lot better than I have in previous seasons. I'm keeping a better, much more even mental state this season. That being said, I did have that 13 game landslide, but I've come back from it, and I didn't hit that same depression low that I've hit sometimes when I hit those kind of lows. So I'm trying to keep more of an even mindset. So I think my end all goal is hopefully to hit diamond there. I don't think that that's completely unobtainable for me anymore. I think I am improving enough at my knowledge of the role that I'm playing and at my own ability to recognize bad habits to help myself improve a bit. So um, then other than and then for 5 competing leagues, how is my team? I don't have a team anymore, Sark.
Right, rough.
I left the team. There were some conflicts behind the scenes um, that I was involved in, but unbeknownst to me, kind of thing. Feeling I wasn't like I was the focal point of the feeling that made me feel to leave. Um, but I never got a direct confrontation about it, and so it's just always this hidden pressure behind my mind that just kept like, okay, do these people really like playing with me? Do they actually just hate me? Am I really just annoying them? And am I holding down the team? And it just started really spiraling me into a very bad mental place. And so, for my own mental sake, and to allow the team to potentially find somebody else that they enjoy playing with more, I backed out of the team. Um, and it's definitely helped me rebound my mental a bit better because there's no longer that kind of hidden thought process behind me. Am I preventing others from playing the game they want to play? Am I ruining an experience for other people? But um, I think this topic is also one that can get very long because I've been on so many damn teams now that I have a lot of experiences to pull off of.
Yeah, you've been on a lot of teams.
Yeah,
I guess I have too, but I don't really remember them.
that's fair.
Cause like I guess I'm not actually on the teams, but like I join those servers and then I'm like I post in the free agent thing or whatever, and then they have me play for like a game or two, and then I'm just like, all right, I don't feel like playing anymore. Later.
Cool.
And then I join and then I'm back on the free agent list, and then, or I guess it's not that I don't feel like playing anymore. It's more like they asked me to sub for like 1 or 2 games, and then they asked me to like start or like if I'd be more committed, and I'm like, no, I just play like once a month or something when I'm bored, you know. And you need a sub, but I don't like want to be on the team. And they're like, all right, well, we're looking for someone more committed to like playing in the league or whatever. And then I end up playing or subbing for another team in a few weeks. But I don't really remember them because I only play with them like a few times. But it's most of the time it's not just because that I don't want to play with them or something. It's because of work, you know. Since I mostly work at night, I don't really get the chance to like play in the leagues or anything.
That's fair. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of leagues are afternoons and such. Um, but I think we've actually hit a pretty long point in the podcast. I hate cutting us off because the conversation is great and all, but I don't want it to make a standard of where we end up being this 2 to 3 hour podcast. Um,
Yeah, I get you.
so I appreciate the conversations we've had today, and I appreciate everybody who's stuck around and listened to us today, and everybody who listens to this video. If you guys like our content, feel free to follow me and Sark. Of course, you're going to be here on my YouTube for this episode at least. We are talking about possibly making a podcast YouTube in the future. So keep an eye out. We will make an announcement if we do switch over to there. And then otherwise, follow our Twitches and Sark's YouTube. We'll put those all down in the comments below, in the description below. And hope to see you guys the next time we do a podcast. Catch y'all later.